All right, so in terms of new releases, the big release here is the Sugar Fall 18 or 8.2.0 release that came out on October 9th. As you guys are hopefully getting used to by now, this is a cloud-only or on-demand only release. So if you are hosted in Sugar's cloud, then this release will be available to you. We've already started seeing some upgrade notifications going out, so if you haven't been notified about an upgrade yet, expect to be notified about that soon. And there are 4 big things in the release. The biggest one, I think, is the quotes module configurability. If you use the quotes module, or if you've ever looked at the quotes module and maybe didn't use it because of a lack of configurability, that problem has been solved in the 8.2.0 release. So with this release, administrators can now modify the fields in the line item section, quoted line item section of the quote screen when you're building your quote, meaning you can now add your own custom fields to that part of the screen. And administrators can also configure the fields that are in the summary bar at the top of the line section, as well as in the grand total section. So with this release and some of the features that have come out in previous releases, the quotes module is essentially entirely configurable through the administration tools at this point. So any changes that you would like to make in terms of especially adding custom fields, kind of the big request they were trying to hit here, you can do that now. Another feature in this release is a couple of new report chart types. This is a new option for your bar charts. Besides the stacked bar charts where you've always had the option to have 2 different group by fields where they show in one giant bar with different colors within that bar, Sugar has added the option to do grouped vertical bar and grouped horizontal bar chart types, which essentially just take that stack and break it out into separate bars within a group on your report. So make sure to check that out if you would like to be able to use some new chart types there. If you use revenue line items and the product catalog, there is a new user profile setting where if you have users using multiple currencies, the revenue line items can default in the user's default currency instead of in the currency that was set up in the product catalog. And there's also an improvement to advanced workflow to be able to add recipients for sending emails from not only modules related to the target module, but also related modules. So essentially being able to go 2 steps away now instead of just 1. If you have any questions about that or you want to see some pictures or even a video talking more about that release, I definitely recommend checking out the community post about it, community.sugarcrm.com. Just look in the releases section. Other new releases on the mobile side, there have been a couple of releases recently. Mobile 6.2.0 introduced the ability to create and modify quotes on the mobile app, and 6.2.1 was just a minor tweak to allow the forecast field, which is in the opportunities and or revenue line items modules, to be available for mobile layouts. And then finally, along with any new release, sometimes you have supporting releases of some of the other plugins. In this case, it looks like only Hint needed an update for 8.2. Hint version 4.1.1 came out October 4th. No new features there, just the compatibility with 8.2. Justin, do you want to talk for a little bit about 7.9 end of life?
Yes, thank you. The older on-premise version of Sugar, Sugar version 7.9, has its end of life on November 15th. That would be next month. So if you're on-premise and you're on 7.9 or an earlier version, you should plan to get yourself upgraded. Sugar's current release cycle is to have 1 on-premise upgrade per year. And if you get too far behind, you won't get security updates. In addition, as you get further behind, Sugar can change the compatibility of the stack you're running on. That would be your web server, your database server, your PHP version. And it's hard to make several jumps all at once if you're going from a very old version of Sugar to the latest version of Sugar. So it's always the most cost-effective plan to simply upgrade once a year as they release their new on-premise versions.
All right, I think that wraps up the new releases conversation. We do have a couple of upcoming events we want to tell you about. The first is our next user group in December. We'll be talking about Sugar Admin 101 best practices, so some basic best practices for administering Sugar CRM. Thinking primarily perhaps about people who have taken over administering Sugar without necessarily having a lot of training ahead of time, who've kind of just come into an existing system and are learning how to manage it. But also probably some good takeaways for anyone who's a Sugar administrator, some things that you may not have realized or thought about before. We do have a couple of upcoming training classes scheduled through the end of the year. When I was putting the slide together, I realized how close 2019 is getting, and maybe it's time for me to start looking at scheduling some training classes in 2019. So expect some upcoming events in 2019 as well, of course.
SugarCon recap. Megan, Ari, and I went to SugarCon this year. It was held at the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas. A couple of highlights from SugarCon. Megan and I were selected along with 3 other people to be their first team of Sugar Scholars. We helped out the technical track in the technical room. We helped get people there, get them situated. We helped the speakers. So it was a lot of fun being involved with SugarCon. If you want to read more about that, check out the Technology Advisors blog. The other highlight I ran into that I really liked was that the roadmap as presented at SugarCon always seems to be a little more in-depth than what they announce not at SugarCon. And they even have what they used to call Sugar Labs, but they had mock-ups of the way things could look down the road, and they were taking feedback on all of that stuff. And then they also had the standard training on Sugar, as well as the standard tracks for using Sugar and doing things better in your business. If you are interested in any of that or have questions about SugarCon, please feel free to reach out to us directly, and we really hope to see you at the next SugarCon.